everyone, welcome to November's CIPR President Live. My name is Advita Patel and I am CIPR's 2025 President. And I'm here today with two fantastic guests, which I'm going to bring on the virtual stage in a minute. But if you've not joined us before, then please do say hello. Even if you have joined us before, please do say hello in the comments. Tell me where you're tuning in from. And also do share in the comments if you have any questions, either for myself, Dan, who's going to join us, and also Joe. And also, please feel free to connect with each other. If you're watching this on replay, if there are any questions you would like to ask either of the guest or myself, then please still post them in the comments, because we'll come back to them at a later stage and give you the answers. We're live streaming on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can always come back to it as well. They're always permanently on those pages. So before I bring on our first guest, I've got a couple of updates from HQ I will share with you. First one is the Neuro Inclusion Training and Community. So you may have seen in some newsletters that have been sent out and posts on various social media platforms that we have launched our very first Neuro Inclusion training course for managers alongside the Neuro Inclusion LinkedIn PR group as well. So that group is there for folks to connect with each other, if they're for allies and for those who also are directly impacted. But it's an opportunity for you to connect with each other. The one-day course gives PR leaders an opportunity to learn practical tools so you can able to create these neuro-inclusive teams, manage disclosure conversations, and harness the strengths of neurodivergent colleagues so they can bring strategic thinking and problem solving to their role as well. The new group, as I said on LinkedIn, is a supportive space for neurodivergent professionals and allies to connect, to share experiences, and to shape what neuro-inclusion looks like in our practice across our profession. And you can find out more about both those, the training and the group, on our newsroom. So do check that out, and I'll make sure the links are shared in the comments as well. We've also recently published a new research looking at what's stopping the next generation from choosing a career in public relations and communications. It's been authored by Caroline Spence, who is a senior lecturer at De Montfort University and has been sponsored by the CIPR Research Fund. And Caroline surveyed over 100 students and research graduates across 12 universities to learn about their awareness of public relations as a career option and the factors that shape their career decisions. It's an incredibly insightful report, so please do take some time to have a read of it. It's there more than 75% of respondents said that they believe that there were barriers facing them to enter the sector. And over a third of those who did have work experience in PR did end up choosing it as a career as well. So 75% decided not to, and a third went ahead. It's a really interesting research. As I said, it lays out how we have to work together as an industry to open up these accessible routes into our profession, especially what we're seeing with generative AI replacing some of these entry-level roles. So what do we need to do as agency founders, organizational leaders, in helping to ensure that our pipeline is ready and credible and experienced as and when they progress in that career? And then finally, Everyday Ethics PR Volume 2 is now available. It's a second installment of the Everyday Ethics in PR case study. It features several real-life ethical dilemmas as described to our ethics hotline, which, on a side note, is completely free for all of you to use if you're a member. So I'll put that ethics hotline number in the comments as well. The guide is free to download for members. It's worth 5 CPD points, and it fulfills your annual requirement to log those 5 ethics points. And you can find links to everything that I've just mentioned on our CIPR newsroom. So please do let us know if you do check out any of those resources and what your thoughts were as well. So without further ado, I want to bring onto the virtual stage our newly elected President-elect for 2026 and President for 2027, Dan Gerrella. Welcome, Dan.
Hello, you all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for joining me today. So I asked Dan to join us today because it was a competitive presidency race this year, which is incredible. So we had two other candidates who also came against Dan for the role of president. And it's also the first time we've done this in the new governance structure. And I wanted to bring Dan here so you could hear directly from Dan on his plans for 2026 while he supports Fazana as president, and then what his ambitions are for his year in presidents when he becomes president in 2027. Before I invite Dan to share a little bit about him, I just also wanted to share my thanks to our team at CIPR HQ for all their work that they did in the presidency campaigns. People don't often see the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. And when we do go through a competitive recruitment around this, there's a lot of energy, a lot of effort, and a lot of work that takes place by the team at HQ to make sure that our potential presidents have the right support around them as well, and make sure that our members have the details they need to do the voting. So I just wanted to give my huge thanks to that team as well. You're appreciated and we really value your thoughts. Okay, Dan, please could you introduce yourself formally to the folks who may not have heard of you or know who you are?
Sure. So Dan Gerrella, I'm Associate Director at an agency called LMC. So we are built environment specialists. So the kind of clients that we work for are clients that want to bring change to the industry. So they're innovative companies, or they've got a particular purpose, social purpose, or change that they want to bring into the industry, and we support them with that. So built environment at the moment, very exciting time, lots of change that we've had over recent years around things like building safety, things around social housing, energy performance, sustainability. It's a long list that seems to grow longer all the time, and lots of new technology and lots of new entrants coming into the market. So that keeps me busy in the day job. And then the CIPR is an organisation that I've volunteered with for a long time, and have been on board. So I'm coming to the end of my board term. But yeah, just as I was potentially coming out, obviously stepped forward for the presidency and then won that contested election, like you say. So yeah, in for another couple of years or another 3 years.
3 years, yeah. Gosh. And I love the fact, so you have volunteered for a long time within CIPR, and you've done lots of different roles within CIPR as well in terms of your volunteering opportunities. What enticed you then to put yourself forward for presidency? What was that kind of, like you said, you're coming up to the end of your term as board director, but what was that pull for you to do the presidency role?
I think as it was coming towards the end of the term, I don't know, I guess maybe some unfinished business. I think there were some things that, so the governance was one area, for example. So you said there was some big governance changes. And the fact that this year was contested, and we were oversubscribed, I think, for council as well. We had lots more people putting themselves forward for board. That's really positive. That was the whole point of changing the governance, to open up more opportunities and to bring new people through. But there's some other things that, it has to be a journey, and we had a very clear remit originally with that governance work, but other things came up and other things still need to be looked at. So I think there was an element of wanting to carry on with that and having that continuity. I think actually, as I see this in my day job as well as CIPR, I think professional bodies and institutions are under quite a lot of pressure at the moment to get the membership proposition right, and to make sure that they're essentially providing what's needed for potential members and existing members. And that could be everything from, the right training and professional development. That could be guidelines and taking an ethical stance on things. That can be things around advocacy. I've started to jump ahead because I'm listing some of the things that I talked about in my campaign, but I think there was still a lot that CIPR could do, and there's so much fantastic work that's being done. And I think it was just that enthusiasm to try and stay involved and to carry on some of those things that maybe have started, or things that have maybe just come up and it's like, do you know what? Actually, I've got a bit of an idea there. And I think it being contested, it was a really good opportunity, because then all of the candidates got to talk to lots of different members. we all got to have a bit of a debate about what the CIPR should do next and invest its time and energy into. And now, through going through that process, I think I've got a clear idea, and I'm still talking to people about areas and ideas that they have. But I think the members, because they voted, they've kind of pointed to a slight direction of things that they believe need to be looked at as well. So I'm hoping the fact that it was contested, it can take that energy into the next 3 years, and that there'll be people that are engaged with what happens next as well as the original election.
Yeah, no, brilliant. You know, and that, I think that's a testament to the new governance process, right? And making it quite clear what the role of the president is, what the role of the board is, how council play a part in that, what group chairs and the committees do as well. And you're right, you know, the world of public relations and communications is changing rapidly, and it's changing much quicker than it ever has done, in my opinion, especially with the changes in how people are working, you know, the attention that need in terms of skills that we need to grow in our own future proofing. You mentioned briefly, you know, while you applied, the kind of ambitions you have for your time as president. Could you be able to explain a little bit more about what your kind of focus areas are for when you step in as president?
Yeah, I think I agree with what you just said. I think we've probably never been more needed actually in our roles as PR professionals, and that kind of strategic advice, that high level advice that we can give to organisations, I think is in more demand, and certainly should continue to be in more demand. There are big societal changes happening. There are lots of changes in our profession as well that we need to kind of reflect and address. AI being one of them. You talked about that recent research about how we encourage people into the sector and what happens with those entry-level roles. You know, these are big structural issues that affect our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day profession. So I had 5 priorities that I talked about in my campaign. One was around CPD, so actually refreshing and looking at the CPD offer so that there's clear pathways that people from different parts of their career or different areas of, you know, maybe they're internal comms, maybe they're a freelancer, maybe they're in-house, etc., actually having something where we can say as the CIPR, do you know what, if you want to progress to the next level, or you want to be an absolute top professional in that area, that particular specialism you have, here's a pathway that you could follow. So it's not about forcing people down a path, but it's actually giving some more guidance, and us being the standard bearer for those things just feels like a natural position that we can take. So definitely that would be something that I will be looking at from next year, because a year is not very long, as you all know, having sat there. So I need to do some background work on that next year. I think fantastic work on the lobbying side, but I talked about there being a wider pool of advocacy and things that we were taking a stand on as an institute. So that will be something that's a priority for me. I'm appearing at the council meeting tomorrow, so even though I technically start next year, the work started now, but one of the things I'll talk about is the volunteers. So as part of my campaign, I said we needed to look at our volunteer strategy and how we engage with volunteers and recognise and reward them. So I will start that next year, so that hopefully then in the presidential year, whatever the outcomes of that working group or whatever that looks like can be taken forward and we can get that right. And then a couple of other things. So already talking to Fazana about strategic partnerships that CIPR has and how we can work with others and build our profile in that way and get good value and good prominence for CIPR. And yeah, the governance, carrying on with that governance project. So I'm already part of a working group that is looking at the next phase, the next wave of what we can do to make sure that we are a sustainable organisation. And I mean that in all sorts of ways. So financial, so what's our commercial plan, but also getting that next pool of volunteers that comes through, because the volunteers are so important. So, you know, and that next batch of members. So if we're saying that research is saying people aren't picking this career and people are worried about what happens, well, then that to me says longer term, we might not have a pool of people coming in through the membership or the volunteer path either. So again, something important to look at.
Yeah, and all great stuff. I mean, you're going to be busy, Dad.
Yeah, I shouldn't have picked 5 priorities, should I? I should have done the rule of 3, which is what people say.
Rule of 3, rule of 5. All really valuable, valid things, I think, that will take CIPR into its next phase, right? Because you're right, we've got a lot to contend with right now. There's this whole the economy is not where it wants to be. We've got the budget stuff coming up tomorrow. It's going to impact how people invest in their development. It's going to impact memberships across the board, not only public relations and communication. So what can we do to support our network, our volunteers, our members, to make sure they get the best support as they possibly can for their membership fees? So everything that you've mentioned is critically important to future-proof our membership and institution. So I'm really looking forward to working with you next year, seeing some of the great stuff that you and Fazana have also got planned. And I think, I'm positive and very excited about what this means for our members as well. If you've got any questions for Dan, comments, thoughts, whatever, please do pop them in the comments. We'll go back to them as well, and Dan will check them out over the next few days as well. Thank you so much for your time, Dan. I know people can connect with you on LinkedIn. I assume that's the best space for them to find you and stuff. Yeah, so please do connect with Dan on LinkedIn and make sure that you follow him for updates and things like that are going on 2026 and beyond. Thank you so much, Dan, for your time, and I will see you. We'll see you tomorrow for council meeting.
Right. Yeah, see you at council tomorrow. Thanks very much, Advita.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Please do follow Dan. It's really exciting times for CIPR, and I can't wait to see his projects and programs come to fruition as well. Next up is the fantastic Jo March. I'm just going to invite her on stage. Hi, Jo.
Hi, Advita.
Hello. So I've invited Jo here today to tell you all about an initiative that Jo is leading called ReWork. So Jo, would you please be able to tell our viewers, our connections, what is ReWork and why is it something that you've been focusing on, and a little bit about yourself, of course.
Right, so I'm Jo. I am an independent practitioner who has been focused within the public sector, predominantly within social housing, but also charity as well. I had a brainchild essentially earlier this year. We had a committee dinner. So I am vice chair of the East Anglia Committee, and I've been a member of that committee for 5 years now, coming up for 5 years. And we had our committee dinner, and it happened to be the same day as the news about NHS England broke. And as a result, some of our committee couldn't attend because they sort of just weren't in that headspace. And as we sat there, we were talking about job losses from people we know, people who were affected, people who were currently in a review period for their own role, and people who had been affected in the last sort of 18 months about reorganisations, about redundancies. And it was just a general feeling that we as a committee know everybody we sat there who was sat around that table that evening knew someone who'd been affected. And as I left, I said, well, we are representative of our members. And as a committee, we should be doing more to support our membership through this and support our peers. And from that, I came away and we reached out to the chairs of the other groups, so across the country, and the practice groups, to see if anyone would be interested in joining hands, because this isn't just an East Anglia problem. This is something that is affecting practitioners across the country, that is affecting practitioners in all different sectors of the market. And to date, I think we've got 8 of our groups all joined up, and we've worked with HQ, who've created us some joint branding, and we are all individually looking to run events that are directly looking to support people who are currently facing redundancy, are currently job hunting, or people who have been away from the market. So it could be that they've had a career break for any reason, and they have decided that now's the time. So far, we have had 3 events, and those webinars should be recorded, and I'll dig out the links and share those later. And we've got more planned for next year, but also we are keen for anyone who's in those positions to let us know what they think would help them, because then collectively as a group we can go away in our individual sort of groups and sector groups to find something and put on an event that we know is resonating with our membership. And that's kind of the rationale and where we are now.
Brilliant. It sounds absolutely fantastic. And please do either share in the comments wherever you're watching this virtual live session, any thoughts, ideas, suggestions that you may have for Joe and the team. And please DM Joe. Joe, is that best way, Joe, on LinkedIn to DM
Yep,
you?
you can DM me on LinkedIn. That's not a problem. I will share the link at the moment that's on the HQ website as well, which is summarising it. It does need updating. I did have a chat with Sarah the other week, and we need to catch up and make sure that that website's up to date with links to what's already happened, and then gives an idea of where we are.
Brilliant. So you've spoken to, obviously you've met and spoken to quite a few individuals, and there's lots of challenges going on in the workplace right now, as I mentioned in the conversation with Dan, and obviously from what you've witnessed. What are the kind of common challenges that you are hearing from people who are re-entering or are looking for new opportunities? What is it that the big struggle is right now, in your opinion?
I think obviously there is a flood of very, very qualified and experienced people who, if they're not on the market now looking for a job, they are currently in they know that it's coming over the horizon. And as a result, there are multiple applications for any of the vacancies that people are seeing. And just pull off some stats that we've got here in the recruitment report published by PR Week earlier this year. There was in 2024 a 26% drop in PR job ads. Now, with more people coming into the market, there's obviously those job ads are having more applications towards them. So obviously you've got hundreds of people applying for sort of fewer roles. Now, I know that that's something that the job market ebbs and flows, because actually, although that sounds really negative, that statistic, the article also reiterates that although that there's been a drop in the jobs advertised, there'd actually been an increase in the salaries that were being advertised for those jobs. And anecdotally, I am seeing something quite similar in that level. But what I am finding is people are facing more rejection. And I think misery loves company. So I'm seeing a lot of people who are desperate and people who are really struggling. And these are well qualified, well experienced people who actually, they will be fine, but it's just that reassurance. But also, I think with the use of AI within recruitment portals and so on, people are struggling how to navigate that. And that's across the boundary. That's from people entering the industry through to people like myself, who've been working for years and years, and we're now facing sort of CVs that are being read by machines. So actually that personal contact's lost. And I'm hearing very experienced people who are having to give faceless interviews to a camera. And I've sort of seen evidence of people doing that. And then there's no human connection in that. And I think that's making it even harder. And I think as a membership body, we are here to support our members and our peers. And I think that's what this initiative is all about.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And everything you described, I can imagine it feeling so lonely and isolating. And when you are looking for a new opportunity, or, especially when it does feel a bit desperate, bills are piling up, you've got dependents on you. There's lots of noise in the industry, as you quite clearly said, about jobs not being available, especially at the mid to senior levels, or even now junior levels, as we've seen from the report that was published by Caroline. There's just so much going on right now. It can feel quite distracting and quite disappointing in a way as well. Because I have read LinkedIn posts from people who are experiencing recruitment challenges in terms of behaviours that they are getting from recruiting managers, and organisations as well, where they've been ghosted or been mistreated in who they are and what they're doing. So having something like ReWork is quite powerful. Being able to learn from others, connect with other people going through the same challenges that you're going through, just makes it feel more doable, and that you're not alone. So really applaud the work that you've started, Joe, and the support that you've got around that. I know Kelly has put a little comment in to say that it's a great initiative and it's brilliant to get all the regions and sectors working together. And this is exactly what it is, to your point earlier. This isn't something that should be done independently. This is something that the groups and the networks can collaborate on and work together on to make sure that our members, regardless of where you live, where you work, have access and support to some of these benefits that that can help you progress into wherever you want to go next. Final thoughts from you, Jo. What's coming up next for ReWork?
Right, so we have a session where we're going to be looking at, I think it's AI in recruitment. We're looking at that. It will probably be mid to late January, possibly early February. We just need to see everybody's availability for that. And that is going to be a short presentation with someone who is working with an ATS system in recruitment, but also we're going to have a panel discussion about that as well. And we're hoping that that will give people some hints, tips, and possibly reassurance about some of these systems. And that will be, or should be, a joint event between the East Anglia and the STEM committee. But obviously these events are open to anybody.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jo, for your time. Please do add any thoughts or comments. Like I said, any ideas that you have. You can also email president@cipr.co.uk. And I'll make sure the information gets passed over to Jo and the team as well. Thank you so much, Jo, and we will see you very soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so a few minutes before we wrap up this penultimate live stream, because I've got my last one coming up in December. So as usual, I want to do some congratulations and applause. So well done to our latest chartered professionals. Huge congratulations to every single one of you for achieving your chartered status. And well done. I know it is a big investment of time and energy, and you should be really proud of yourselves for achieving that. And also our top 10 loggers for November. We have got some fantastic scores up there, points. Look at 605 points there by Martine. Marita's close on the tails there. And as usual, we've got the wonderful Ezenwa, who's climbing up as well. But I am a huge fan of CPD. I'm a lifelong CPD logger. And these folks just inspire me every single time to get my act together and get my things logged as well. So well done to all of you for logging your CPD and keeping us all accountable as well for doing that. Final thoughts in terms of what's going on in HQ. Remember that you can claim tax relief for your job expenses. So if you pay for your own membership, you can claim tax relief. And this is a benefit that a lot of folks don't actually know. So please do make note of this. It means that you can take home more of your income and pay less tax. All you need to do is let HMRC know that you paid it, and they will deduct the membership fee from your taxable income. So you can follow more by going to the Gov website and going to professional fees and subscriptions. I will post that link in the comments as well alongside the other links. Well, thank you so much for joining me live today. I appreciate you and your time. Thank you to Jo and Dan for sharing their thoughts and ideas. I am back, like I said, for my very last session, LinkedIn Live, next month in the 3rd Tuesday of December, just before Christmas. So please do join me then. I will have a couple of more guests with me. And thank you for your time. And as usual, if you've got any thoughts, any ideas, anything you want to share about your membership, if you're curious about your membership, then please do email me at president@cipr.co.uk, or you can always drop me a DM on LinkedIn and I'll make sure it gets to the right people. I'll see you in December. Take care of yourselves.